Eat these foods for powerful erections and blood flow, men's sexual health. If you've been living with erectile dysfunction for years, trying everything while nothing seems to improve, I know how heavy that burden feels. You've been eating healthy, you've been exercising, you've even taken medication, but with each failure, what's lost isn't just physical function, it's your confidence, your sense of control over your own body. Many men gradually withdraw, feel ashamed, don't dare to share, and worse, get pushed toward options they don't truly trust, stronger medications, injections, even surgery. This video isn't about listing eat this, drink that, and it doesn't promise an overnight miracle. What I want to do here is help you understand why things started going wrong and why so many of your previous solutions haven't addressed the root cause. The truth is, in most cases, erectile dysfunction doesn't start with hormones or age, but with blood vessels. And what's more important, what's good for cardiovascular health is also the foundation for sustainable erectile function. In this video, you might be surprised by familiar foods and how they affect blood flow, so you'll know what's truly worth trying and what you can skip. Please subscribe to the channel to follow upcoming valuable videos. 1. The real problem behind erectile dysfunction. To understand why diet can affect erectile function, we first need to face a very important truth, one that's often overlooked. Erection is fundamentally a vascular phenomenon. The penis needs a large volume of blood to flow in quickly. This only happens when blood vessels are sufficiently flexible, elastic, and the inner lining functions effectively. The problem is the arteries supplying the penis are very small, much smaller than the coronary or cerebral arteries. That's why when the vascular system starts having problems, the penis is often the first place to signal trouble. This is why many men still feel their cardiovascular system doesn't have any obvious problems yet, but erectile function has already started declining. This doesn't mean you're getting weak or that you're past your prime. It's usually a sign that your vascular system is under silent pressure from blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, chronic inflammation, or lifestyle habits accumulated over many years. 2. The core mechanism, nitric oxide and vascular endothelium. Your body doesn't achieve erection naturally. It needs a very specific biological signal, and that signal is called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps blood vessels dilate, allowing blood to flow into the penis powerfully and steadily. But to produce enough nitric oxide, the vascular endothelium must be healthy. When the endothelium becomes inflamed or damaged by LDL oxidation, bad cholesterol, the ability to dilate vessels deteriorates. The result is that blood flow is no longer strong or stable enough to maintain an erection. And this is precisely where diet begins to play an important role, not because food is medicine, but because eating directly affects inflammation, oxidation, and endothelial function, the root of the problem. 3. The strongest scientific foundation. Eat for the heart, good for the penis. When looking at large-scale studies, one dietary pattern stands out clearly. A diet good for cardiovascular health is also a diet good for erectile function. A study following over 21,000 men for nearly 11 years showed that those who adhered to a Mediterranean-style diet, rich in fish, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats, had approximately 22% lower risk of erectile dysfunction. What's important here isn't a specific food, but a long-term eating pattern that reduces inflammation, improves blood vessels, and maintains endothelial function over time. 4. Food groups that directly impact blood flow. 4.1. Flavonoids and fruits. Flavonoids are natural compounds abundant in plants, especially fruits, vegetables, tea, and moderate amounts of wine. They help reduce inflammation, limit LDL oxidation, and increase nitric oxide production. Studies show that men who regularly eat flavonoid-rich foods have 9 to 11% lower risk of erectile dysfunction. For fruits alone, just one serving per day was associated with up to 38% risk reduction. Specifically, blueberries showed about 22% risk reduction. This isn't a miracle that happens overnight, but rather the cumulative effect of improving blood flow over time. And here, many people will ask a very practical question. So where exactly are flavonoids in daily meals? The good news is flavonoids aren't rare. They're present in many familiar foods, especially deeply colored fruits and vegetables like berries, apples, grapes, citrus fruits, grapefruit, pomegranate, onions, kale, broccoli, tomatoes, beets, peppers, and parsley. Green tea and black tea are easily accessible sources of flavonoids. Red wine also contains flavonoids but should only be consumed in moderation. Additionally, cocoa, soybeans, nuts, and legumes also contribute flavonoids to the daily diet. The most important thing isn't to eat a lot of just one type, but to eat diversely. The more colors on your plate, the better chance you have of absorbing different groups of flavonoids. 4.2 Pistachios, providing nitric oxide precursors. Having understood the role of flavonoids in reducing inflammation and protecting blood vessels, the next question naturally is, are there foods that more directly impact nitric oxide production? A clear example is pistachios. Pistachios are rich in L-arginine, an amino acid the body uses to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps blood vessels dilate, allowing blood to flow more powerfully into the penis, the core condition for achieving and maintaining an erection. Additionally, pistachios provide antioxidants that help protect vascular cells from damage caused by inflammation and oxidation, factors that often silently weaken erectile function over time. In an intervention study, men with erectile dysfunction who ate about 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, of pistachios daily for several weeks recorded significant improvements in erectile function and penile blood flow, assessed by medical scales and Doppler ultrasound. In practice, you don't need to eat that much every day. A small handful, about 1 to 1.75 ounces, 30-50 grams of pistachios used regularly as part of a balanced diet is a reasonable way to take advantage of the benefits without consuming too many calories. 4.3 Caffeine, a surprising support factor. After discussing providing raw materials for the body to produce nitric oxide, the next step is a factor many don't expect: caffeine. At moderate doses, caffeine can support erectile function by dilating vessels and relaxing smooth muscle in the penis, thereby increasing blood flow when sexually stimulated. A study based on U.S. national data tracking over 3,700 men showed that those who drank about 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily had approximately 42% lower risk of erectile dysfunction compared to those who didn't use caffeine. This effect was still observed in overweight men or those with high blood pressure. However, this effect wasn't clearly seen in people with diabetes, and excessive caffeine use can have opposite effects, such as affecting sleep or stimulating the bladder, factors that indirectly impair sexual function. Therefore, caffeine isn't a magic key, but a supporting factor, beneficial when used at the right dose and for the right people. 5. Foods with potential but insufficient evidence. Besides food groups with clear data, there are still types frequently mentioned but currently lacking sufficient direct research to confirm effectiveness for erectile dysfunction. Watermelon contains citrulline, dark chocolate contains flavonols, and nitrate-rich vegetables like spinach or beets all have reasonable biological basis. However, to date, the evidence isn't strong enough to view them as primary solutions. The important thing is to clearly distinguish between has potential and has been proven to avoid misplaced expectations. 6. Things that can ruin all your efforts. Even when eating in the right direction, excessive alcohol and cigarette smoking can still nullify all those benefits. Alcohol impairs nerve reflexes and blood flow, while tobacco directly damages the vascular endothelium. These are impacts that accumulate over time and are also modifiable factors. In many cases, reducing or eliminating them brings greater benefits than any good-for erection food. 7. Practical application. Small changes, big effects. You don't need to change everything in one day. Small but sustainable adjustments are what matter. Start the morning with a smoothie containing greens and berries. Add fatty fish 2 to 3 times per week. Replace salty snacks with a small amount of pistachios. If budget is limited, quality frozen or canned foods are still perfectly acceptable. The goal isn't perfection, but consistent progress over time. It's that consistency that creates real difference for vascular health and long-term erectile function. If you've listened this far, you've probably realized something very important. Erectile dysfunction isn't a personal failure, nor is it a sign you've lost your ability. In many cases, it's simply an early signal that your vascular system is under pressure, and your body is trying to warn you before things go further. No single food can cure erectile dysfunction. But when you understand the mechanism, you'll see that small choices repeated daily, how you eat, drink, and live, can make a real difference over time. Not overnight, but a practical, sustainable path with scientific basis. The most important thing isn't doing everything perfectly, but not continuing in the dark. When you understand why your body reacts this way, you'll be less afraid, less self-blaming, and know clearly where to start. If you found this video helped you better understand your own body, please subscribe to the channel.